I wish I had a few mentors I could rely on. I've learned everything just by doing mistakes. It takes years and years, and you fall down, you have to climb back up. You fall again, climb back up. You're almost throwing in the towel, then you just decide not to give up, and it's painful.
Please welcome
Eman Pulis,
The scale of his success
is staggering.
who's changed the landscape of
the gaming, digital health, digital marketing, and emerging tech sectors.
Since I was extremely young, I never had a job really, because I felt that the two biggest addictions were heroin. The other one was paychecks. We had only one problem. Gambling is illegal in the United Arab Emirates. Fuck it, we're going to Dubai. We're launching a conference.
Tiny little problem. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Made in Cyprus, big business story from a tiny island. And today we have a very special guest with me, Eman Pulis, the man itself, the man behind SiGMA and Ikigai. Welcome, man. Thanks for being here, Eman.
Thanks for having me. It's not my first time here.
I know.
It's great to be here.
You start to become familiar with the black and yellow background and the Factory 39 colors. I am fascinated by your story. I am fascinated by the sheer amount of work that you do and the sheer amount of stuff that you put out there. I was reading at your LinkedIn profile the other day as well. I had to scroll quite a lot. You've been a busy man. You've done quite a few things from business, event. I think event was your real driver core. So Eman is many things, but how did it all start into the journey of SiGMA?
Yeah, well, not really many things, right? The events is in my DNA. I was a university student, remembering in my third year at university, and someone approached me to start selling tickets for them for a party, which I embraced. I was a little bit popular on campus at that time, so I embraced the challenge and I started selling. And at the end of the day, I realized that I sold 3,000 tickets out of 4,000, right? So I'm like, okay, this is something I can do pretty well. And the next event this guy did, he wanted me as a partner. And my love for events grew and grew and grew to the point that I kept organizing concerts for about 10 years. And shortly after, I pivoted into organizing something a bit more meaningful, of more substance. And the idea of organizing SiGMA, which was an acronym for the Summit of iGaming in Malta, took off in 2014. And as they say, since then we never looked back.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. I remember that when we started working together. Why iGaming? Why exactly that?
Yeah.
It could have been any other event,
Great question,
right?
yeah. When I did parties, the people who spent most money in my events were the people from the gaming industry. Malta has done a really good job attracting the gaming industry back in 2004, when the internet wasn't even a big thing among everyone, right? So Malta regulated a space for online gambling companies to relocate to Malta and set up business in a regulated environment. Malta has done that very well. And 10 years later, I caught up and I felt like, listen, Malta deserves to have a platform where the whole industry of iGaming can come, converge, and do business with each other at my conference. So that was the idea in a nutshell. And did the first show. Many companies were based there, so they didn't have to travel. And it was a hit from the get-go.
Yeah, so you were immediately an aggregator, let's say, of an ecosystem that was already promoted by that 2004 regulation,
And the people who I remember who exhibited at the show were mostly friends of mine who trusted me with their pennies, because they knew me from the concerts,
from the events,
right?
The
so my background is from outside tech, outside gaming. I was just a concert organizer, party organizer, but because I had a good reputation with those few people, they helped me to take off.
Hey listener, just taking a really short break, I promise, to share something really exciting with you. If you're in the iGaming industry, you definitely want to hear this out. At Factory 39, we had the pleasure of collaborating with SiGMA on the recent global rebranding. We helped them reposition as an international leader in the market. We simplified their branding and marketing system, and we helped them develop a truly holistic identity, able to expand across infinite touchpoints globally. a truly 360 degrees strategic rebranding that was able to celebrate their 10 years of successes and guide the entire organization towards the next growth phase. And you can have an exclusive peek behind the scene on how we did it. Just head to factory39.io/work/Sigma to see all the collateral, a full documentary on the case study, and even Eman's testimonial. If you're looking to unlock your next growth phase for your brand, we are here to make it happen. But now, back to our conversation with Eman Pulis, the mastermind behind SiGMA. You're a man of the people in many ways, right? Every time I see photos and interviews, you're always surrounded with people. Everyone knows you.
I love people.
That's always been your case since when you're a kid.
I love people. And I think that has been the biggest mantra of what makes SiGMA so unique in that space. I love, as the Nokia Dash, connecting people.
Eman connecting people.
But not only that, right? I love understanding what their needs are. I love being able to help someone. You know, having the opportunity to have someone is something you shouldn't take lightly.
No.
To me, it makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled. And I'm driven by the need to help others. And that's how SiGMA took off in a nutshell.
I love that, but there is a bit of a contrast in here because iGaming is gambling in a way, right? So which is an industry that carries a lot of stigma, and you are a man of people and you're a man that want to help people. So help me understand what is the relationship between doing good and actually working in the gambling industry. Do you think you can eradicate gambling from the face of the earth? Let me start with this first question. The answer is clearly no, right? And an element of gambling can be okay as long as there are safety nets and enough regulation to protect the player from becoming addicted to the game. So you ask me, what's the difference between someone who spends 50 euros, goes to the cinema, buys some popcorn, buys a ticket to the cinema, spends 50 euros, has 2 hours of fun, and another person who goes to the casino, spends 50 euros, has fun on a slot table or a roulette table, has 2 hours of fun, goes back home, 2 different people, 2 hours of fun, 50 euros spent. Why would we demonize one and not the other? Also, sports betting. So we're not talking about casino. There are 2 types of gambling. One is sports betting, one is casino. Yep.
People love to put some skin in the game when they watch a match, right? It just makes the game
it's the adrenaline,
that more
right?
thrilling. Exactly. Now we even have the technology. So it's not just the regulator who's protecting the player to make sure that there's no abuse bonuses and stuff like that. Now there's also technology that can help online gambling and especially players, from falling into the trap of addiction.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a couple of examples. Artificial intelligence can detect problem gambling from the very beginning, from the onset, just by the way someone clicks the mouse. Artificial intelligence can detect that. Brilliant. Artificial intelligence can detect the iris, the way it moves. They can detect that, listen, this player might eventually have an issue of addiction. That's where technology, regulator, operator, and player need to come together so we protect the player from addiction. And that's where SiGMA comes in. That's where I feel that we are serving a purpose, right? Rather than saying online gambling is banned from this country, what's going to happen? Operators and players are going to go underground where there's no regulation, there's no protection. Players are going to be cheated by rogue operators. They're going to fall into addiction, and there's nothing to protect them because everything is being done illegally.
Yeah, addiction, debts, mafia, and all that kind
all
of stuff.
Yes. We're totally against that. What we are in favor of, let's regulate this space. Let's enable governments to collect the fair share of taxes. Let's enable operators to work with legislators, to work with technology, to make sure that the player can have fun in a sustainable way, right?
Yeah.
And this is where SiGMA has found its space.
You sit in the middle and
Absolutely.
you basically are the ecosystem, bringing everyone that gravitates around the gambling and the online gambling in together and making sure that everyone benefits, from the operator to the regulators to the actual player as well, right?
Absolutely. We're all for sustainable.
It's beautiful.
development.
And I learned it from you. I think I see gambling as any other adult entertainment, or like for me, there is no real difference on building a brand for Heineken or building a brand for a company working in that
Gambling,
thing.
yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. But also what I learned from you is that beautiful purpose that you guys have from SiGMA to SiGMA, but you also are actively giving back. You have a foundation. You worked on an academy. You are someone that is trying to give back. Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that, because also that's something that for the average person judging gambling and iGaming in a second does not understand, that there is way more behind that.
Yeah, I've been fascinated by the gambling industry because they are very fast at embracing challenges, being ahead of the curve even. They don't wait for governments to regulate, to incentivize. No, they take the lead. They really
find ways.
And COVID was the eureka moment where I felt like the gambling industry was really doing things right. The way they treated employees, the way they imposed certain restrictions because people were spending more time at home, bored at home because they're not spending 8 hours at work. So they're stuck at home. They're spending a lot of time on the laptop. The chances of them start gambling becomes even more higher. And I remember seeing the gambling industry self-imposing a number of restrictions in favor of the player. So then I realized that, listen, there are really good people in this industry. And it was at the time of COVID when my business was sinking like a ship, literally. Keep in mind, I run an events business, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't do events during COVID. And so I was trying to keep the sinking ship afloat during COVID, and at the same time setting up a foundation to be able to support those in need the most. Something which keeps tormenting me is how lucky we are to be, like me and you. We're so lucky to be here today, right? And a few thousand miles away, you find people whose only difference to me and you is they have been dealt a different set of cards, right? Extremely unlucky. They have no clue where their next meal is coming from, let alone no education. They have nothing, right? Nothing. So the foundation is there literally to help those in need the most. We've been building schools in Ethiopia, Sub-Saharan Africa. We launched a school last year. We're launching another school this year in Ethiopia. We're building also educational facilities in the Philippines. Also, there are remote regions. We're building it in Bataan in Philippines. A lot of poor people over there as well. We're building a pavilion, a gym in one of the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. This time we're going to Latin America. Drug can be an issue in those regions, and being able to pull kids from the streets and empower them through sport is something that works really well in Brazil. So we're doing that, and there's other projects around the world. For instance, some kids who require a simple procedure called cleft palate. I don't know if you know what cleft palate is.
No.
Some kids are born with a deformity. Where
on the lips, I think I saw.
Yeah, the lip and the ceiling of the mouth, so they cannot eat, they cannot do anything. And it requires a simple procedure. In some areas, they cannot afford these procedures. So we fly doctors to help those kids get, fix the operation that they need. There's so much need out there. And my wish is that the industry from online gambling, who can afford, because it's a lucrative business, the industry from online gambling sees what we're doing and hopefully joins the bandwagon to do more good out there.
Amazing. I think if there were just a couple of more of founders and businesses like SiGMA in that industry, the ripple effect will be huge, amazing, incredible. I think these are the stories that make me very proud to partner with brands, because there has to be something beyond money, right? I mean, I think I'm not gonna lie to you. I love money. I think you love money as well. We like to make as much as we can, but we don't have to disconnect ourselves with someone further away from us that, as you said, did not have the set of cards that we had.
That we were dealt, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And tell me more about COVID, because I know that was fucking painful.
It was challenging, yeah. From riding the crest of a wave, running a successful business.
Because you were going up during
like
COVID,
crazy,
isn't it?
Yeah. I'll share even something with you. We were even close to an exit at the time.
I remember that.
So another company wanted to buy SiGMA. The valuation was really, really positive.
And Eman was like...
So I was thinking of a retirement, right? With a 3-year earnout. Then COVID hit, so my only option was to pull out from the deal, yeah.
Oh my
For
God.
both of us, yeah, because then the earnout would have been terrible during COVID. So we pulled out, and from a mindset of someone who's about to retire, you know, and doesn't have to work another day in his life.
Caipirinha by the sea, flip-flops.
To trying to keep the sinking ship from sinking, because we cannot do any more events for the unforeseeable future. That was a challenging time, yeah. Really, really challenging time.
But then you decided to stay and not only to rebrand and to fully go global after. So what made you change?
So COVID made me realize I was in my comfort zone in Malta. We had only one conference called SiGMA in Malta. Then in order for me to save this ship from sinking, I had to do something. Malta had very stringent COVID rules. So there was no way I could do an event in Malta in 2021. This was already 1 year later. The only place where I could do an event was the place where they were fastest in vaccinating citizens.
Wow.
And that place was the United Arab Emirates. So I remember speaking to the team. I'm like, fuck it, we're going to Dubai. We're launching a conference over there. We had only one problem. Gambling is illegal in the United Arab Emirates.
Tiny little problem.
And there's no way you were going to do a gambling conference in the Emirates. So our first conference in the Emirates was all about artificial intelligence and blockchain. And that took off like wildfire as well. After that, we felt comfortable doing events abroad. Now we have a conference in Brazil, we have a conference in the Philippines, conference in Kenya, South Africa, Malta, Budapest, Dubai. You name it, we can throw it easily.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Probably the true stories of resilience, isn't it? Almost from closing the door and said, fuck it, I'm out of here, to COVID, to then even like more, like that, like it became truly global.
Yeah. Now it's a global.
It's exploded.
Global event, yeah. And it truly brings legislators, regulators, the operators themselves together.
Yeah.
We have requests from governments who want to bring this industry to their country, right? Because they create thousands of jobs.
Wow.
So we get approached by governments to launch SiGMA in their country because they want to incentivize gaming
Imagine
companies.
that as a recognition, right? When the government is telling you, please help us.
Yeah.
That must be the
Yeah.
ultimate manifestation that you truly are an ecosystem making things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Why Cyprus? Why did you not stay in the other tiny island?
Great question. So when COVID hit, I was living in the Philippines, setting up an office there.
Yeah.
And my wife and I didn't feel really safe being in a foreign country during COVID. So we decided to go back to Malta in our comfort zone. And once COVID left us, me and my wife were like, okay, let's go somewhere else. We spent a long time in Malta. Malta is a very small country. And we agreed on Cyprus for a number of reasons. The weather is amazing. It's way bigger than Malta, so for me, it's like moving to a bigger country.
And our listeners need to believe it because like Cyprus is small, so can you imagine how small Malta is?
Yeah, Cyprus is 32 times bigger than Malta. That's how bigger it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And the population is only slightly bigger than Malta. So we decided to move to Cyprus for a few reasons. My wife is from Latvia. She speaks Russian.
Go Baltics!
Yeah. Huge fan of the Baltics. Kids speak Russian. My wife speaks Russian. Here, there's a great Slavic community.
Massive community.
So that's one reason we decided to come here. Another reason is the mentality, right? Is still very similar to what there is in Malta. And they have a number of incentives in Cyprus which are really, really attractive.
Yeah.
Including one of them is the IP box, which most gaming companies can benefit from.
Yeah.
So I saw there's a good gaming community picking up here, and I felt like this was a great place for me to network with a new cluster of people.
Yeah, great taxation as well, especially if you're an innovative company owning your IP, then your corporate tax goes to 4 or 5%.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah. So it's a brilliant place to be.
Yeah.
Differences, Malta, Cyprus?
Between Malta and Cyprus?
Except the size.
Great question. Look, the Mediterranean mentality, climate is climate and mentality is there. I think Malta has done really well. We're talking legislatively, right, at government level, in creating a legislative framework for new stuff to come in.
Yeah. They had to, right?
Exactly.
As much as you can do with tourism and
exactly.
There isn't much else, right?
Exactly. And I'll give you some examples. In 2000s, very early 2000s, even the late 90s, Malta created a great fiscal regime to attract foreign companies to Malta, just like Cyprus did very recently with the IP box scheme. But Malta did this 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So imagine in 30 years how many companies can be incentivized to move forward. Early 2000 to 2004, before even most governments knew what online gambling was, Malta created a legislative framework for online gambling companies to tell them, listen, come and operate here. We have a legislative framework for you. You can operate safely in this country. So a lot of gaming companies moved to Malta for that reason, because they wanted a regulated space. Yeah. They didn't want to operate in a place where there's no regulation, and all of a sudden tomorrow they find out that they're breaching the law and they end up with all the employees in jail, right? No one wants that. So Malta did that in 2004. Malta did it again in 2018. They created a legislative framework for blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, way before many other countries have. Malta did it as well with medical cannabis. Malta created a legislative framework for companies who want to cultivate cannabis for medical reasons to operate in Malta as well.
Because one of your events is also medtech, right? So
that's on medical technology. It has little to do with medical cannabis, but it's a much bigger umbrella. Yes. So I think Malta is really leading the pack when it comes to let's create a legislative framework for this thing that's still far on the horizon, but it's coming.
So we can attract people, we can attract companies, businesses, investment, businesses, and everything. Yeah,
correct.
So iGaming is for Malta what Forex is from Cyprus and FinTech is from Cyprus, I would say. You can
say that, yes.
Interestingly, so that's probably what brings them together.
Yeah.
But your heart is still very much in there, isn't it? I know that like your biggest event, it's still Malta.
It's actually Malta, Manila, and Brazil.
Yeah.
They're all three on the same level. Yeah.
And it would be much easier not to be Malta, isn't it? For the logistical and the numbers.
Yeah. So I think SiGMA has become too big for Malta.
Yeah, 25,000, was it Malta?
25,000 people.
Imagine
so
that.
Basically all the hotels in the country.
It's like an Olympic Games. The sheer size of it, it's
not just
incredible.
that. So all printing shops, all carpenters, all restaurants, all hotels, even neighboring islands around Malta like Gozo is rammed with delegates, right? It's not the same island, it's another sister island. So because Malta runs out of hotel beds, people end up going on sister islands. So taxis are happy.
You had helicopters as well, moving people.
Choppers.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
And you had to change venue as well this year, right? So you went into a bigger venue, did you not?
There's no expo venue, so we found a shipbuilding site. Massive 50,000 square meter open space, and we turned that into an expo hall. But you can imagine the hassle. So we had to gut the floor, fix the entire ceiling, put in new doors, bring restrooms from Sicily because there weren't any. You need 300 restrooms for an event like that. So we had to bring restrooms, we had to bring ACs from abroad.
Oh my God.
It's logistical maze,
Why do you go through this logistical nightmare instead of saying, fuck it, I'll do it in London?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, a bit of crazy. But I think people also appreciate the TLC that goes into curating such an event that's not run of the mill, right? There are great expo centers out there and people are accustomed to them. But being able to do an event like this, high-tech event like this with amazing stands, doing it in a shipbuilding site, close to the sea. Then you have these boats coming over, hosting their guests. It's a different vibe, right? It's the difference of between going to a club for a good night out or going to a festival. Two different vibes, right?
Yeah, I love that because, and we go into it as well, but like one of the things that me and you, my team and your team focused a lot into the recent rebranding is that spirit of the location, isn't it? And one of those concepts that SiGMA almost became like the World Cup, right? So every time you go, it becomes SiGMA in that specific place, and it's a celebration of the culture, of the tradition of the people, and your attendees love it, right? It's not only about work, it's about where it is.
Absolutely. And again, I'll go back to what we spoke about before, right? I love people. And I think we've managed to infiltrate this philosophy into SiGMA. So unlike other conferences, people come to SiGMA with the mantra that let's be friends first, then business will flow. So even the type of stands that our clients end up setting up, they either have entertainment surrounding them or a bar where people can have a beer and socialize. So there's this huge festival where business is doing friends with each other and then business will flow.
Yeah.
You have to come to see it to understand.
I saw it when I was doing the research in Limassol, and I remember from the first step into the conference, I had like a what the fuck moment, like because I was imagining it a conference, right? You know, a B2B environment where you shake hands, you know, cold, dusty, and everything. And it was like truly like a party, and people were smiling, they were talking, and then when I went there into the research phase, like everyone knows each other. They all know its own brands. They all know themselves by names, and I could see like this big environment of people and people first. Mm-hmm. Then, as you said, business will come.
Correct.
2023, 2024, again, massive year of changes. I know that you're no more the CEO.
No.
Tell me about that. Hey Emily, if you see us, if you listen to
Emily.
us.
Yes. Last year. I felt that the team is really maturing, right, at SiGMA. I have people who have been with us for many, many years. And Emily is one of those who shines bright, right? Yeah. She puts in heart and soul into it.
One of the busiest women I've ever seen.
Yeah. I shouldn't use this adjective, but she's a beast. She's a beast. Literally.
Always present, though. Every time we were working on the brand project and on the strategy, she was always there. Even though I knew that she had like probably 7,000 million things to do.
Yeah, and I'm obsessed about the detail, right? So for me, it wasn't easy to let go of such reins. But you know, Emily has proven herself time and time again, and she's not the only one. Yes, there's other people who have taken in so much because it's a big corporation. We have 6 offices now around the world. So managing this big corporation is no easy task.
I can imagine.
But yeah, thanks to people like Emily and others, I can focus on building other dreams. One is Ikigai Ventures.
Tell me about it.
It's a 20 million euro VC fund, which I set up during COVID. And
because you like a challenge again.
It's a 20 million euro fund, and the mandate is, again, technology in online gambling. Mm-hmm. And we find rock stars. We approach these rock stars from the industry and we tell them, hey, let's build something together. We're going to fund it. We're going to help you with the SiGMA backing. We're going to give you good governance, finance, marketing, sales, legal, accounting. Let's go build something together. And that's Ikigai Ventures. It's been doing quite well. The other thing I love focusing on is what we spoke about before, the SiGMA Foundation. Makes
a lot of sense. And it must be quite challenging. I'm not saying stepping out, but kind of like leaving control. Also because you are Eman, the SiGMA guy, the guy behind SiGMA. Everyone knows you, and everyone knows that you're always there in the events and always around. What is your internal relationship between you as a personal brand and SiGMA as a corporate brand, as became a big corporation right now?
I take that with a smile, right? And truly humbling that people within the industry see in SiGMA a lot myself, right? So truly humbling. But it's not something that I wish for it to stick, right? I want SiGMA to live its own identity outside of my shadow. So that's one of the reasons why we have people, very talented people like Emily, like Life, who are running the business the way they are. So I don't get involved in sales. I don't get involved in anything these days, but Ikigai Ventures and the foundation.
Yeah. So you're still following up passions of yours in a way, right?
Yeah.
And tell me about the other big change that happened in this year and last year, the rebranding as well, and reconsidering the whole positioning and all that. What drove that decision?
Yeah, well, it was driven by the fact that we were becoming 10 years old. So SiGMA this year is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. And it gave us a moment to sit down and reflect a little bit. Okay, we've come this far. Where do we want to go in the next 10 years? And that thinking helped us understand that, okay, let's regroup a little bit and let's crystallize our mandate for the next 10 years. That's why we sat down with you guys, and the SiGMA brand evolved in its purpose, mission, and the vision. And that's where we decided to even embrace the B2C part of the online gambling industry. So we don't just want to be known as great summit organizers. Now we want SiGMA to be recognized as the most trustworthy authority for online gambling, where legislator, operator, and player can converge in the industry's best interest. Interesting challenge, big challenge ahead of us, but we have 10 years to accomplish that feat.
It's amazing. I think one of the things that I learned from you is the ability to adapt but also stay relevant in the industry that you are, and I think the manifestation of how you survived and thrived during difficult times, how you always find solutions, because running events is probably there is a lot of stuff you can predict, but a lot of shit you cannot predict.
There's always stuff you can't predict, yeah. And there's always something that happens. Yeah.
Always something that happens, right? And you're dealing with thousands and thousands of people. We all know people can be wonderful, but also can be a bit problematic, and that's why also it was inspiring that you sat down and you did a trajectory for what's going to happen next, and keep growing, keep evolving, and everything. So what's the future? What's your future vision? Like you touched a bit about the B2C as well. Do you? So where you're going in the next 10 years? Let's say.
Yeah, the B2C is no easy task, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing becoming known with 100,000 people from the industry. The B2B side, there's about 100,000 people working in online gambling. These guys know us. We're there, right? We have successful conferences around the world. Number one, happy. The players don't know us yet. So now our challenge is for our portal, sigma.world, to become the most trusted portal for people who engage in online gambling. So whether they want to look for reviews about any game, whether they want to learn about tips on how to do sports betting, how to bet online, whether they want reviews about certain casinos to avoid rogue casinos and play on reputable, trustworthy casinos. When players have disputes with casinos, we want them to come to us to settle those disputes rather than having to go to court. So we want to build a brand that players can trust.
Amazing.
And that will take some time.
Yeah.
That will take some time.
Is your vision to have a better split between B2B and B2C, or your heart and soul will always remain more towards B2B?
No. We want both pillars to be equally strong. Yeah. Also because I believe one fuels the other.
I agree.
So if we have a solid relationship with the industry, the players will understand. Will trust us more, right? Because we truly understand what's going on.
And
so you can't really separate one from the other.
Yeah, and it goes down to people again, right? Ultimately, it's always a person that decides to trust a brand which has people behind it. Ultimately, on the most fundamental things, B2B or B2C, always human to human in a way, right? So merging the two is smart.
Yeah, and it's not just, again, we don't just want to organize the event, right?
Yeah.
We always want to be on the driver's seat where people from outside gaming trust what we're doing.
Yeah.
So today, people from artificial intelligence, people from blockchain, people from quantum computing, entrepreneurs and visionaries from DeFi, GameFi, they wouldn't typically attend an online gambling summit, right? But we're doing efforts to attract those luminaries to our summits. Why? Because we want the latest technology out there to be embraced by the online gambling industry. And we want them also to realize that, listen, there is regulated gaming, and this is a space which we should consider deploying our technology in.
Yeah.
So the purpose of the summit is also that of bringing frontier tech with online gambling.
It goes back from SiGMA to SiGMA, right? It goes back helping people understand what really means that the industry and what is doing. Mm-hmm. What would you have said to the younger self of you, to young Eman, or to another entrepreneur that right now it's looking to build something? Yeah,
find mentors. I've learned everything just by doing mistakes, and those are the best lessons you can have, right? There's no such thing.
But it's a longer path.
There's no such thing as a failure, but it takes years and years, and you fall down, you have to climb back up, you fall again, climb back up. You're almost throwing in the towel, then you just decide not to give up, and it's painful. So I wish I had a few mentors I could rely on.
It's painful, but also addictive in a way.
Yeah, and very addictive. Yeah, you're right.
Would you see yourself employed and working on a desk and doing a 9 to 5?
Oh, that's you're touching a sensitive point there. Yeah,
right.
Since I was extremely young, I felt that the two biggest addictions, and I always say it to myself, right? I was a sports freak, and I was very much against drugs. So I always believe the two.
You played basketball?
No, I did track and field.
Triple
jump. The two biggest addictions in life were heroin. So that's something which scared me a lot. Heroin. Oh my God, heroin. The other one was paychecks. So receiving your monthly paycheck as an employee, that also scared me a lot, because I genuinely feared, that the minute I get the first check, I will like it and I'll get comfortable with it, right? Yeah. And every month I receive this paycheck, and that would deprive me, would take away my hunger to try and do it on my own. And for this reason, I never had a job, really. I always tried to do things my way, learn my way. And maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't have mentors, right? Because I was never in an office environment surrounded by a couple hundred people whom I could learn from. Yeah,
and have the hierarchy and year by year try to step up and try to step up.
And learn from them. I never had that.
Beautiful, the connection with sport, by the way. I think is what my parents always taught me as well. Practice sport, being a team, or be challenged,
very disciplined.
Pushing, very disciplined. I think it's beautiful. I think starting to work early, right? So I started when I was 14, and having the understanding of what money really means, right? I think it's important. But biggest lessons in life, always in the context of sport, and it's so translatable, into business, also addictive.
100%.
Yeah. It's one of my fears, having to go back into the employment system. You know, I like this up and down. I like the fact that every day I feel like I want to quit, but then I love it. During the same day, it's so addictive.
Exactly.
It's so addictive.
Exactly. And look, life of an entrepreneur is not easy.
No.
And it's not for everyone.
No.
you think you're leaving your 9-to-5 job to become an entrepreneur, but now you're doing 7 till 11.
It's always on.
Your mind never switches off.
It's always on. I receive emails and texts from you as well sometimes when we're working at the weirdest time, but that's the time you work. And also you wake up very early, isn't it? You have a
5:30. Yeah. 5:30.
Every day. Weekends as well?
Yeah.
Automatically?
Yeah. No need for an alarm.
What time do you go to bed?
9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay. So you still get a decent
No, I need my 7-8 hours of sleep.
Decent down.
Yeah.
Eman, thank you very much for coming here. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Last two things. I want you to nominate someone that you would like to see as a guest in this podcast. Who would you like to see?
Yeah, well, I have plenty of people I could recommend. Can I mention one or one?
One or two, whatever.
Yeah, one lives here. He's someone I really look up to, Alex Gubarev. He has had an exit recently. Someone I really, really look up to, and he's doing a lot of good in Limassol.
I know him, yeah.
The other folk, he's just now moving to Cyprus. His name is Igor Samarditsky.
Yeah.
He is from the gaming industry. And I'd love to ask him a couple of pungent questions.
Brilliant. And we might get both of them. Last but not least, do you have a joke for us?
Oh, okay. You're from let's say living in Cyprus. I'm from Malta.
Yeah.
People mistake us all the time, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're Greek and I'm Italian.
Yeah.
So a Greek and an Italian walk into a bar and have a few drinks, and they're trying to see who's better. So the Greek tells the Italian, but we built the Parthenon. Then the Italian goes, but we built the Colosseum. Then the Greek goes, yeah, but we invented mathematics. And then the Italian's like, yeah, but we had the Roman Empire. And then you see the Greek is getting frustrated until he realizes he can say something which really will win him the title. So he tells him, yeah, but we, the Greeks, invented sex. And the Italian was like, yeah, true, you did invent sex. But then we thought of having at least with women. Cheesy, I know. But
Brilliant. Hey, man, thank you very much, buddy. Nice having you. See you next time, guys.